Alright, one last time, I'm going to move my cursor now. And I'm going to do it one more time. I'm moving my cursor now. Hello, and welcome to another tutorial for the Spinetics Hypermedia Director. In this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to create a basic interactive project using a menu media and menu buttons SVGs. So to start, I've imported two videos that I'm going to use to switch between. And we're going to use the templates found in the interactivity folder. Particularly, we're going to use the menu buttons.svg and the menu media SVG. If you want to know more about the other SVGs that you can find in this folder, you can check out our Spinetics support wiki at support.spinetics.com. So what we're going to do first is we're actually going to go into the interactivity template folder, and I'm going to take the menu media SVG and the menu buttons SVG, and I'm going to drag them in to our project, and I'm going to drag them into the layers of our project. Once again, I'm going to size and position these. It's a little too big for me. Let me make the menu media a little bigger. Whoops. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to save this. So now, what we're going to do is go into our menu buttons.svg. And as you can see, we already have this little piece of media right here in our layers. I'm just going to delete it. You can use images or videos as your buttons. I'm actually just going to use the videos themselves, so they will play. Note that the audio will play from these, so I'm actually going to mute the audio. So if you'd rather just use an image, it's probably best, since that way the sound will not play from those videos if you use them as buttons. So I'm going to go ahead and drag the Dark Knight video and the Roller Skating Babies video over. And since we're in this menu buttons.svg, we can actually position these however we want on the screen. Within this area right here, if it's grayed out, this is actually not the area where our menu buttons are, and thus they won't work. That's why in our index.svg, I actually size this accordingly, so that way the buttons would be on the bottom. If you want, you can full screen this as well, but I find it easier to keep the menu media position and the menu buttons position separate. So I'm going to double click in here, and let's see. Once I've done that, I'm going to name the action IDs for these particular videos, or these buttons, excuse me. So I'm going to name this button Dark Knight, and I'm going to name this button Evian. And click Apply and save it. Now remember, these action IDs, we're going to need them for later when we go into our menu media SVG. So now that we've created our buttons and set their action IDs, we're now going to double click inside this menu media.svg. As you can see, we have these two pieces of media, two layers, so I'm actually going to delete them as well. Click Apply, and now it's blank. And we're going to drag our two videos into this one as well. Now if I click the Apply button, it's going to use this Dark Knight AVI as the home screen, in quotes, essentially, which we don't want. We don't want to trigger either one of these videos until a button is pressed. So what we're actually going to do is a little trick here. I'm going to insert text, I'm going to drag it up to the top so it's actually the home page in essence. And I'm just going to create a blank layer with no text. Click the apply button. So this is essentially our home page, which will be blank. Or our attract loop. You could also insert a video or something to use as an attract loop. And you can set its page ID to be, for instance, index. So now, remember those action IDs that we set in our buttons? We're going to correspond them to the particular buttons and their action IDs. So the page ID for the Dark Knight will be Dark Knight. And the page ID for the Roller Skating Babies is going to be Evian. Also, another thing to note, this instant messaging variable has to be the same for your menu media as well as your menu buttons. By default, it's already set to menu, so you don't need to worry about this. But if you're using multiple menu media SVGs or menu buttons, you need to make sure that the menu media SVG that you want controlled by the particular buttons, the instant messaging variable needs to correspond with those. So I'll click the save button, go back to our playlist, and now to test this in Hypermedia Director, I'm going to click on this Enable Interactive Mode button. This disallows the use of sizing and positioning layers and basically makes the preview panel a touchscreen. So if I click on this Dark Knight video, assuming I did everything correctly, it will now play the Dark Knight video. If I click on this Roller Skating Babies video, the Roller Skating Babies video plays. So one last trick that I'll teach you. Say you wanted these videos to go back to this blank screen once they're done playing. What you do is set this next page to the page ID that you want the menu media to go to once the video is done or that page is done. So I'm actually going to set these to index. So now what happens is when the duration of this page or video is done, it will revert to the next page that is set according to this action ID. So when this Dark Knight video and this Roller Skating Babies video is done, it'll revert back to the next page, which is index, which is this blank screen. And I'll click the apply button. And now I'm actually going to show you this in action. So let me start this from the beginning. And I'm clicking on the Roller Skating Babies video. And this is about 55 seconds long, so we'll just wait for it to complete. And it goes back to the white screen. So that's how you can build a simple interactive project in Hypermedia Director. So thanks for watching.